Hi, and welcome to this week's Thrive in 5. This week we're going to talk about direct mail requirements. And in order to actually get direct mail to work for you, you have to understand some of the basic requirements for it. And so often when companies do direct mail, they don't think a lot about it. They just go, well, we're going to send out our brochure, we're going to send out our whatever it is. And they don't think strategically about what needs to be done in a very practical way to ensure that the direct mail strategy or campaign actually works for them. So let's talk about it a little bit in today's show. Really, you've got to begin with your list, and it's pretty evident from research that's been done over the last 50, 60 years that 50% of your success is in your list. And that list can be your house list, it can be a purchase list. Make sure you check the previous Thrive in 5 where we talk about mailing lists. So it can be purchased, compiled response list. You can borrow a list, and that borrowing a list can come from friends or affiliates or different things like that. So 50% of a direct mail requirement is actually getting the right list. Now, when you have the right list, these are some of the things you have to think about as you prepare for your direct mail campaign. The first is you want to get this direct mail piece delivered. It's got to get delivered in order to actually have any effect. So one of the things that we think about in terms of direct mail often is, well, can we do it cheaply? Well, really, a lot of times if you're not doing it cheaply, if you're doing it third class, a lot of times it doesn't get delivered. So think about doing first class mail. Think about a live stamp. A live stamp is actually a great way to ensure it gets delivered. Think about actually creating a handwritten note. Well, why are we trying to get it delivered? This is actually oftentimes related to getting it just out the door to where it needs to be. So do you have the right list, and is the list effective? The second piece of getting it delivered is, do you even have the right postage on it? A lot of times these are those little things that don't often get thought about. So make sure that you have the right postage on it. Make sure it doesn't look like junk mail to begin with. Historically in the post office, there is evidence that third class mail that looks like junk mail between 10 and 30% often just magically disappears. So you've got to assume that if it looks like junk mail, it might end up there. And then to get it delivered, actually, you got to think about, will it get past a gatekeeper? Because if this arrives at a gatekeeper and it looks like junk mail and it's not handwritten, there's not a live stamp, and it's third class mail, and it's got sort of those automated indices on it and those kind of things, it's not going to get where you need to get. So get it delivered. Next, get it opened. And get it opened is all about making sure the piece you're using will actually be something that's compelling enough to open. So how do you do that? Make sure it's personalized. Don't just put a company name on there. If it's a company name, it might not get open. It needs to be compelling in some way. When you look at this direct mail piece, is there some reason to open it? Is it unusual in any way? We use a lot of three-dimensional mail because three-dimensional mail is compelling, it's unusual, and it gets to you. Think about every person you meet or every person you send this direct mail to is actually standing over a garbage can when they open it. And in that moment, when they're opening it, before they open it, they're standing over a garbage can, and at any moment, if your mail doesn't look compelling enough and it's not personalized and it doesn't look like it should be opened, it'll go in the garbage. So you've got to think about that. Finally, you've got to get it read. And so it's one thing to get it open, it's one thing to get it there, but it's another thing to make sure it gets read. So how do you ensure it gets read? First thing is, when they open it and pull it out, is there a headline? Is there something that's grabbing them to actually keep reading? If the headline doesn't work, they're not going to go any further. Is it personal? Is it to this person that the letter was sent to? So it's got to be personal. Oftentimes, they actually start at the top of the letter and jump to the PS and the name from whom it's delivered. So they're going to look at that. Then, often missed in direct mail is subheads. So what people do in direct mail is they actually read through the copy and they look at the subheads before they actually read the copy. And so it's important that you understand the path that people take in the reading sequence. So get it delivered, get it opened, get it read. If you figure that out, you're likely to possibly get response. So response is what we're going to talk about next week. But before you get a response, you got to make sure this happens. That's this week's Thrive in 5. You've got the knowledge. Now go do something good with it. We'll catch up next time.